Before we begin, let me explain some important Japanese cultural elements in this story. An ema is a small wooden plaque found at Japanese shrines, where people write their wishes and prayers. These plaques are hung on special boards at shrines, creating a display of countless hopes and dreams. In Japanese culture, disturbing sacred objects or disrespecting spiritual places can bring serious consequences. Shrines dedicated to matchmaking and love are particularly common in Japan, where people pray for romantic success. The concept of vengeful spirits, especially those who died with strong emotions, is deeply rooted in Japanese folklore. Now, let's begin our story. The cursed ema. This happened when I was attending technical college. Back then, I was a technical college student, and I often went to haunted places with my friends from school. It wasn't that I particularly loved scary places. We just had nowhere else to go, and driving around aimlessly was boring. So we chose haunted spots as random destinations. We'd say things like, "Whoa, so scary," just to play along, but honestly, I never felt frightened even once. One day, a friend bought a new car and we decided to go for a drive in it. "Should we go to K Dam again?" someone asked. "I'm tired of haunted places. It's not like there are any girls there," another replied. "Where else can we go? How about the military base?" We had already visited most of the nearby haunted spots, so we were having this conversation while driving around. "Oh, I just remembered," my friend suddenly said. "There's a place called S Peak in Y Town. I heard it's really scary." "Really? What kind of legend does it have?" According to what he heard, there was a shrine in Y Town dedicated to a matchmaking deity. A woman had continuously prayed there for the man she loved, but her wishes were never granted. She left behind a note cursing the deity and threw herself off the peak. "Sounds great, let's go," I said. "But I don't really know where S Peak is. I know Y Town, but I've never heard of S Peak." "No problem, we'll ask at a convenience store." Even if we couldn't reach our destination, having something to search for was purpose enough. That was our style of fun. Y Town was a bit far, but the roads were empty at night, so it didn't take too long. We found the convenience store and decided to look for S Peak. Two of my friends spread out a map they found in the store, while I asked the clerk, "Excuse me, do you know a place called S Peak around here?" "S Peak, yes, it exists," the clerk replied. He gave us detailed directions. "Is there a shrine there?" I asked. "Ah, you mean T Shrine? Are you going there now?" "Yeah, I heard it's scary." "It is scary. That place." The clerk's tone caught my interest. "Have you been there before?" "Yes, it's about the ema, right?" "Ema? The ema with the suicide note." "What's that?" "There's a suicide note written on an ema?" "That's right, on the right side of the display board, at the very bottom, about the third one from the right, at the very back, though it might not be there anymore." "It's really there?" "Yeah, I saw it myself." "Well, you're going there anyway, right?" "If you can't find it, I'll tell you what was written on it when you come back. I remember most of it. You'll pass by here on your way back, won't you?" "Is it safe to look at something like that?" "They say you shouldn't remove it. I was too scared to take it down. If you can, try removing it for me." While I was chatting with the clerk, my friend came over with the map folded up. "Hey, did you find the location?" "Yeah, the clerk gave me directions, plus an interesting story." "Really? It wasn't on the map. If you know the way, let's go." Okay, I'll tell you the interesting story." Since it felt wrong to leave without buying anything, I bought a can of coffee before we left the store. I told my friends the story I'd heard from the clerk while drinking coffee in the moving car. "Is that for real? Isn't that dangerous?" "Well, we're just going to remove it. Just looking should be fine." "I want to know what happens if you remove it." "Michael, you should try taking it down." "You're saying the same thing as the clerk." While having this conversation, we drove along the route the clerk had given us. "Oh, isn't that it? we could see what looked like a shrine. It was quite high up in the mountains, with the shrine built near the summit. I think that whole area was probably S peak. We parked the car and entered the shrine, but it was cleaner than we expected, which was somewhat disappointing. It doesn't really feel like a haunted place. Yeah, the shrine in W neighborhood is much scarier than this. Well, let's look for that in more. We quickly found the display boards where the Emor were hung. There were 2 boards, each about 6 feet wide, side by side. Right side bottom row, second or third from the right. The Emor were packed tightly across both display boards. When I looked at the spot the clerk had mentioned, something seemed strange. Did you find it? No, but what is this? On the right display board, at the very bottom right corner, there was something attached to the nail where Emor were supposed to hang. It looked like a small mailbox, or a locker, or one of those electrical panels in buildings, where you press a round button to open it. The nail was driven through a small hole in the lid of this box-like object. Both ends of the lid had handle-like extensions, each secured with a padlock. A chain. Maybe the suicide note is inside this. That must be it. Whoa, this is scary. Confident that what we were looking for was inside, we got strangely excited and decided to try removing the box. The box was only attached to the display board with nails, so we thought we could pull it off if we all worked together. First, we removed all the inlay hanging nearby. Then we used a flathead screwdriver from the car to pry up the nailed parts of the box. Once we created enough gap for our fingers, we all pulled together. Crack! The box came loose. Whoa, it came off. Inside was an email that was clearly older than the others, blackened with age. At first everyone just stared silently. Then I brought my face closer to examine it carefully. Nothing was written on the front. I turned it over, and there seemed to be some writing on the back. Everyone else leaned in closer too. Hey, light it up. I can't see. My friend illuminated the email with his lighter. My beloved, why? My beloved, why? I prayed so hard, but you went away. You betrayed me. I will never forgive you. D. Everyone was speechless. This was truly scary. Whoa, so scary. Getting excited, I overreacted and waved my hands dramatically. The email in my hand got caught on my gesturing arm and flew away. The email fell with a sharp sound. I quickly picked it up and immediately hung it back in its original place. Oh. No. Classic Michael. No, I really didn't mean to. I just got carried away. There was no point in making excuses to my friends, but I was scared and felt I had to say something. Is this bad? Well, it's just superstition. Nothing will happen from something like this. Just as my friend was trying to reassure me, and I felt a bit relieved. Hey there. A tremendous angry shout. I collapsed where I stood, my legs giving out completely. I thought it was just another group of troublemakers. But you actually removed it. You idiots. I immediately realized that the old man who had suddenly appeared shouting was from the shrine. How embarrassing to be caught at our age doing something like this. If the police were called, we'd be in serious trouble. We're sorry, we all said in unison. While apologizing, we were all secretly looking for a chance to escape. But then the old man asked, "Did you remove it?" Yes. I can see you removed the box. I'm talking about the Ima. You didn't remove the Ima, did you? Well, just for a moment, just briefly. We put it right back. The old man fell silent and let out a deep sigh. Which one of you removed it? I did. Come with me. No, I'm really sorry. It was just a moment of weakness. I'll fix the box too. I'm sorry. It's fine, just come when I tell you to. Although the old man was dressed like a proper shrine keeper, his aggressive manner was like a Yakuza gangster. I had no choice but to follow him as he demanded. At that moment, I felt bitter resentment toward my friends, who were hesitating about whether to abandon me and run. In the end, both friends followed too, and we were taken into a building behind the shrine. Now then, the old man sat gracefully in front of me as I knelt in formal Caesar position, staring directly into my eyes. His face was scary and I wanted to look away, but I felt I shouldn't, so I stared back into his eyes. After a while, "You're quite handsome, aren't you?" "Huh? Do you have a girlfriend?" Yes, I do." "Do you love her?" "Yes, I suppose." Confused by these strange questions, I started to worry and asked back, Is something bad going to happen to my girlfriend?" She might fall ill." "What? Why? Since you went that far, you must know what that Emma is about, right?" "Yes, I heard rumors. As long as that Emma hangs there, the woman's spirit won't cause trouble. She's not at peace, mind you. But she won't cause harm. But the moment you remove it, she starts causing mischief. Some people have even taken their own lives." I was speechless. "Are we in danger too?" My two friends behind me asked. "If you just barely touched it, you two should be fine. But you," he looked at me, "might experience some trouble. Since you're handsome, she might target your girlfriend." Wait, what should I do? I, who had never believed in ghosts, was now completely accepting their existence. "I can't see your shadow. It might have flown to your girlfriend. Maybe nothing will happen, maybe something will. If your girlfriend falls ill, come here before going to the hospital." The old man took out a piece of paper from a shelf, wrote down a phone number, and gave it to me. "Listen carefully. If you cause trouble again, I'll hand you over to the police. Understand?" "Yes," we all replied. As we bowed and started to leave, the old man stopped us and brought out a set of tools. "Fix it before you go." We were made to repair the box we had removed. Well, it was only natural. While gluing the split wood back together, the old weathered Emma swaying in front of my face was terrifying, and I really wanted to go home. I carefully placed the box over the Emma and hammered the nails back in. "I'll have to do something about this," the old man muttered afterward. That day, I felt like I had done something terrible, but it didn't feel real, even in the car on the way home. Man, I knew Michael would do something like that. Classic move. Whoa, scary. Fling. I could never do that. I was really scared. But honestly, the old man was scarier. For real, I thought he was Yakuza or something. With no sense of tension, we were actually in high spirits from the relief of being free. "Sarah will be fine too." He just said that to scare us. I thought so too. Probably nothing would happen. On the way back, we stopped at the same convenience store and reported to the clerk that we had removed the Emma. The clerk asked what happened, but when I said nothing occurred, he laughed as if to say I figured as much. The next day, being somewhat worried, I called my girlfriend to check on her condition. Sarah found it strange that I was asking about such things and wondered if something had happened. But since she seemed fine, I made plans to meet her the next day, which was a holiday, and hung up. That evening Sarah called me. "Michael, sorry I might not be able to see you tomorrow." "Huh? What's wrong?" My heart skipped a beat. "I think I caught a cold. I have a fever and chills. I hope I'll feel better, but it seems like it might get worse. If I can't make it, I'm sorry." I suddenly became frightened. "I see. Stay warm and get some sleep tonight." After hanging up, I immediately checked to make sure I still had the memo the old man gave me. I entered the phone number into my cell phone's memory and put the memo in my wallet. If Sarah's condition was serious tomorrow, I would call. The next day I woke up around noon and tried calling Sarah. I called several times, but she didn't answer. I waited a while and called again, waited more and called again. Worried about Sarah, who wasn't answering her phone at all, I rode my motorcycle to her house. Sarah lived with her parents, and I didn't know their home phone number. Just as I was about to ring the doorbell at Sarah's house, the front door opened with a click, and her father came out carrying Sarah on his back. "Sarah." When her father saw me, he said, "Are you Sarah's friend? Now isn't a good time, she's not feeling well. I'm taking her to the hospital." Sarah, being carried on his back, seemed barely conscious. She was opening and closing her mouth, struggling just to breathe. I thought, I have to make that phone call. I immediately took out my cell phone and called the shrine's number. Sarah's mother came out of the house half crying. rushed to her husband and said, "Dear, let's call an ambulance. The car will be faster." Hearing this argument, I started to panic. T-Shrine speaking. This is Michael. I need the head priest, Mr. J. Yes. Please hold on. Hold music played for 2-3 seconds. Then the old man came on. "Hello, are you alright? My girlfriend, Sarah." "Calm down, can you come right away?" "Yes, I'll come immediately, please help us." "Come right now." "Are you driving? Be careful. Also, is this a cell phone?" "Yes." "Then don't hang up, keep it pressed to your girlfriend's ear so she can hear my voice." "I understand." As I moved the phone away from my ear, both parents immediately crowded around me. "Hey, what was that conversation about? What's going on?" "I'll explain in the car. Please, lend me your car. Right now." I realized I was sobbing, my face a mess of tears and snot. "Aren't we going to the hospital? Explain what's happening." "We're going to the shrine. I messed with a ghost. That's why Sarah is like this. We need to get her blessed. We have to go now." I spoke rapidly and forcefully. My intense manner left both parents overwhelmed and confused. Of course they'd be confused if someone suddenly started talking about ghosts. "What are you saying? We need to go to the hospital." "Dear." Just as her father was hesitating, Sarah suddenly opened her eyes, looked at me from her father's back and said, "Mr. Whitebeard." The name from the Emia. My beloved Vie. The blood drained from my face. Even if I had to knock out both parents and steal their car, I had to get to the shrine. "Let's go." Her father suddenly put his daughter in the car. "You drive." I immediately got in the car. Her mother was in a state of confusion, saying, "Dear, are you serious? What's going on?" Her mother also got in the car and grabbed at me in the driver's seat, but I ignored her and started the car. Then, to drown out the shouting of the arguing parents, I yelled at the top of my lungs, "Put this cell phone to Sarah's ear." Her father stopped the hysterical mother and put the phone to Sarah's ear. Then Sarah began to show signs of distress, and her mother screamed frantically, "Stop it, stop it. What is this? Why are you doing this?" The shrine's head priest told me to. I don't understand either. The car was chaotic for a while, but eventually her mother calmed down, or rather got tired. Her father, trying to understand the situation, asked me to explain what had happened. I told them about the shrine, the woman and the Ima, and what happened that night. While the parents found it hard to believe, they didn't argue, and from then on they kept calling Sarah's name to encourage her. When we reached the shrine, I took the phone from Sarah's ear and put it to mine. From the phone I could hear the old man's voice chanting something like sutras or incantations. "We're here." "Good, carry her immediately to the building where you were before." Her father and I quickly carried Sarah to the building behind the shrine. The old man was wearing ceremonial robes and looked very reliable. "Put her here." As instructed, we laid Sarah on a cloth spread in front of the old man. The old man began chanting something like sutras, incantations, or songs while holding his hands over Sarah's body. Occasionally I heard words that sounded like normal Japanese. Soon Sarah began to change. After groaning sounds, Sarah opened her eyes wide and began screaming with a terrible expression. Again, "Curse you, curse." Her body arched backward, occasionally slamming down on the floor before arching again. Her mother fainted at the sight. My body was shaking uncontrollably. Wrong. This man is not him. Ha. The old man suddenly grabbed me, who was on the verge of collapse, and thrust me in front of Sarah. "Look carefully. Is this the man you loved? He's different, isn't he?" Sarah's terrible expression, or was this the face of that woman? I'm sorry, you're right, I'm sorry." I apologized from the bottom of my heart for removing the Emma. Sarah made wordless groaning sounds, which gradually turned into something like sobbing. Seeing this, the old man gently crouched beside Sarah and spoke to her in a much quieter voice than before. I was in a state of collapse, my legs completely useless. Sarah's father had also slumped down beside me. Eventually, Sarah became calmer. The old man stood up as if for a final ritual, chanted more sutra-like words and sat properly in front of us. "It's all right now." Hearing this, tears poured from my eyes. I cried out loud, sobbing uncontrollably. Her father and the old man seemed to be having a conversation, but I wasn't listening carefully. Sarah remained unconscious, and apparently we were told to take her to the hospital after she regained consciousness. As we were leaving, the old man spoke to me. "Honestly, I didn't expect someone to be possessed to that extent from such a minor incident. She must have taken quite a liking to you. I've exorcised her now, so don't worry. But never see your girlfriend again. The spirit's attachment is incredibly strong. If you stay together, this might happen again. Don't see her anymore. It's for both your sakes. I know it's hard, but you must do this." I loved Sarah, so this was shocking, but I thought it was unavoidable. The old man continued, "If possible, move away. Leave this area. That would be safest. After all, your reckless actions caused this in the first place. Reflect on what you've done." Moving seemed difficult, but I thought it was unavoidable too. I'd have to quit school as well. Afterward, Sarah's parents drove me home. Her father said, "This happened because of you, but I thank you for helping to save her." Her mother remained silent the whole time. I promised both parents that I would break up with Sarah and leave this area, never to return. Not being able to say goodbye was so painful that I cried. Later, I quit school and returned to my hometown to find work. The friends I used to hang out with back then, including the two who went to haunted places with me, would visit occasionally. But none of them ever mentioned Sarah or what happened after that night. This is the end of our story. Remember, some places and objects are sacred for a reason, and some boundaries should never be crossed.